Welcome to the VPA for 2014 and welcome to the Black Community Issues Workshop. It's a panel, but we don't exactly have that panel format up here, so we will work with it. And the way that we're going to proceed is, one, you should know we're going to have an extra 10 minutes at the end because we lost a few at the beginning. I'm going to very briefly introduce each of our panelists, and then we are going to go ahead and speak our presentations, each in order, and when we are finished, then we will do the Q&A or discussion part of it. So I would recommend, one, that you mark down on your program the order of the speakers, because it is not as it is written exactly. The first speaker is Kim Allen. The second will be Vinnie Weeks, who's at the last in the list. The third will be Lily Estes. And the fourth will be me, Anna Edwards. All right, so if you've got numbers next to the titles of the presentations, you should have 1, 4, 3, 2. "50 minutes is not a lot of time. So we're going to get right into it. Kim Allen is a PhD in cultural anthropology. She is an educator and a community advocate. Her focus is on education, and she'll talk a little bit more about her experience in Richmond over the last several years, but over this last year in particular, there's been some very interesting work that she has done around education and community. Vinnie Weeks is a Richmond chapter member of All as One, the Universal Movement. He attended the VPA last year and was so impressed with all of you and all of what went on that he has been engaged with us over the course of this last year. And we invited him to be a part of this panel because his focus is specifically on engaging youth and reinvigorating their commitment to education. Lily Estes is a longtime community activist, and she is here as a community strategist with ALO Community Strategies Consulting, and she is going to be discussing transportation, jobs, and wealth creation, but in particular housing redevelopment as it pertains to the most effective way to eliminate poverty. And then I'm going to talk. My name is Anna Edwards, and I'm chair of the Sacred Ground Historical Reclamation Project of the Defenders. And I will be talking about the Chocolate Bottom struggle as it manifests the struggle for the right of oppressed people to self-determination, and try to give you the alternative plan that has just been released for Chocolate Bottom in 5 minutes. So, one of the reasons for having a community issues panel is to trigger discussion. So we are not presenting to you the 4 be-all and end-all topics, and hope that you will be thinking from the perspectives out of which you have decided to come to this session in the VPA and think about it in terms of how these issues impact either what you do or what you would like to learn, and bring your questions to us at the end of the presentations. It is interesting to me that in putting this panel together that education did sort of rise to the top. And education means different things at different times, but all of them seem to be equally important. There's school education, there's family education, community education, there's self-education, and that which we go out and seek. So I'm really looking forward to hearing what each of the panelists has to present to you today. And in the struggle for the right of self-determination, think about these things in reference to the resolutions that you will be hearing about over the course of the day as well. So I'd like to start with Kim Allen, and then Vinnie Weeks will speak, and then Lily, and then me. Dr. Allen, would you come?
And as I was coming to this place, I remembered that I had spent quite a bit of time in this place as a young child. And it was focused on education as well. I grew up just about 3 blocks down this way, here in Churchill. And I came to this place as a 4-year-old 3 and 4-year-old for Head Start. And so I graduated from Head Start right in the basement here. And it's really so interesting that I'm here to talk about education today. I want to thank this church for its commitment to the community, and I want to thank in particular Dr. Hunter for his ongoing work here. And so I'll be speaking very broadly here and about our tradition of educational excellence. And in our questions and answer period, I hope to speak more specifically about what it is that we can do to help educate our children and ourselves. So the tradition of educational excellence among peoples of African descent emerged first in the place that has come to be known as Africa. The ancient Greeks, including Plato, Socrates, and Solon, lauded the African scholars and priests in Kemet for their depth of knowledge in the sciences, mathematics, medicine, astronomy, and architecture. African American commitment to education preceded slavery and included the University of Timbuktu in Mali in the 13th century, while Europe was still in the Dark Ages. This was one of the top centers of education in the world, and scholars from Persia to the Orient studied at this University of Timbuktu under the tutelage of African scholars. This is part of our tradition. Therefore, education and knowledge has a long tradition among people of African descent, and many enslaved Africans risked life and limb to learn to read and write. Gabriel Prosser, Nat Turner, Frederick Douglass are among those who equated education, especially literacy, with freedom. Literacy and education itself was freedom. It was considered the first demand of self-determination. Former slaves built schools on the grounds of their churches and sacrificed often meager resources for books. Here in Richmond, we have Ebenezer Baptist Church located on Lee Street as an example of that. One black farmer wrote President Rutherford B. Hayes and asked, "It has been a hard year. The harvest is poor, and I can't afford books for my children. Please, Mr. Hayes, can you send me some books so my children will be able to learn to read?" This is an African tradition that spans thousands of years, and yet African American children are nearly at the bottom of all measures of education, from graduation rates, knowledge of science and math and reading. The big question is, what can we do to revitalize that commitment among individuals, families, and communities? The individual must value education as much as Malcolm X, Frederick Douglass, and Gabriel Prosser. Knowledge and know-how may not give you that high-paying job, but it can give you more options, and more options mean more freedom. Families are important because it was those families that told their children, you can be anything you want to be, and you are as good as anyone else. Get an education, that's one thing they can't take away from. What are families saying to their children now? Think about it. What are they saying to their children now? Communities are next because communities can declare that there is a value of education by recognizing and supporting those individuals who are teaching our children and the children who are striving to excel in schools. These individuals and children need to be as popular and recognized as the latest celebrity or artist. If our communities, radio stations, television shows, and social media celebrities, artists, entertainers, and athletes are celebrated as local heroes, how can we expect our children to continue to value education over celebrity? There was a time when our families, communities, and churches had great celebrations for a child who went off to school and came back with a college degree. They often became teachers who had the support of families who were quick to tell their children, you better do what the teacher says. So it is not as much about money and resources as it is about attitudes and values. That's my stress, attitudes and values. There are children in many parts of the world who are reading hand-me-down books in shacks without windows, who walk or run to school on dirt and grass trails. They are often the pride and joy of their parent and communities and are now filling our universities with names like Khan, Muhammad, Suzuki, Chan, Oyewele, Hernandez, and Bornsey. They are graduating from our best graduate schools and getting many of the best and highest paying jobs. At times it starts with tiger moms in China who tell their children, you are destined for greatness. Be great for yourself and your family. Tell your children that they are also destined for greatness and to be great for themselves and their families. What are we telling our children? What were people telling you?